Let me look back at John Yates first of all in some detail, because I think that his evidence best exemplified the hostile questioning from the Home Affairs Select Committee, as well as, if you like, the line of defence from the Met. Now, he would have emerged from that feeling that he was treated with something close to contempt at times, feeling perhaps almost as though he was treated a bit like a criminal. And the reason that I thought that, looking back on it, is the way in which his hearing was actually framed. First of all, Keith Vaz read out, he in effect sort of read him his rights.
Witnesses who give false evidence, willfully suppress the truth, or persistently mislead a committee may be considered guilty of contempt of the House of Commons.
That was very unusual, rather stage-managed, but it certainly sent a very clear message to John Yates. And then at the end of the hearing, he had this to say to the Assistant Commissioner.
Mr. Yates, as usual, we're most grateful. Whenever we ask you to come and give evidence, you do turn up and give evidence. However, I think it is the view of the committee that your evidence today is unconvincing, and there are more questions to be asked about what happened when you conducted this review. So you may well be hearing from us again. Please do not regard this as an end of the matter, but we are very grateful that you've come today.
And so there, if I can sort of extend my criminal metaphor, it's as though Keith Vaz was saying to John Yates that he was being let out, but only on bail. So John Yates had obviously a lot of convincing to endeavour to do, and first of all, he was talking about his own integrity.
I can assure you all that I have never lied, and all the information that I provided to this committee and others have been given in good faith.
But he did have to admit that because other information had come in from News International subsequent to his very short review, he might unwittingly have given false information to the committee.
Yes, if I've unwittingly misled this committee on the basis that I didn't have the information at that time, then that is a matter of regret. Of course it is.
And he also said that his decision to review this over a matter of hours was poor.
Had I known what I should have known, it's a poor decision. It's a poor decision. That's clearly the case, and I can't say anything more than that. But the fact of the matter was, we didn't have the information that we should have done.
That was him trying to, if you like, pass the blame on to News International. But I thought that his most shocking acknowledgement and admission was this one to a question from Nicola Blackwood.
Is there a feeling that you were going to do the minimum necessary in order to show that you had looked at the facts and that there was nothing new in this case because you had more important things to be getting on with?
There is an element, there's probably an element of that.
So an element of doing the minimum necessary. He absolutely flat out acknowledged that. He was asked by Keith Vaz whether he should, I guess some would say, do the decent thing.
Given what you have said and the apologies that you've made, have you considered your position as to whether or not you should continue in your present position, bearing in mind that you have accepted that this has been a fundamental error in the way in which this inquiry was conducted? Have you actually offered to resign?
No, I haven't offered to resign. And if you're suggesting that I should resign for what News of the World has done and my very small part in it, then I think that's probably unfair.
So that was John Yates holding the line. Peter Clarke also did go over the same sort of ground. I think what was interesting in his evidence was that he did move the argument on and really put the boot into News International.
If at any time News International had offered some meaningful cooperation instead of prevarication and what we now know to be lies, we would not be here today.
And he used the word conspirators. Now, obviously, he's a very senior police officer. He knows what that implies. And I think the suggestion that there was lies and basically some sort of conspiracy going on within News International perhaps gives us an indication that Sue Akers could not give us as to where that inquiry might go. Now, what to say about Andy Hayman's evidence finally? It was not particularly illuminating in any particular sense, because there was no meeting of minds between the committee and Andy Hayman at all. They seemed most of the time to be utterly at cross purposes. This was probably the most combative and tetchy moment.
Mr. Hayman, while a police officer, did you ever receive payment from any news organisation?
Good God, absolutely not. I can't believe you suggested that.
Lots of people do.
Well, come on, hang on. I'm not letting you get away with that. Absolutely no way. I can say to you...
Mr. Hayman...
No, come on, Chairman, that's not fair.
Order.
That's not
it's
fair.
Not,
that's
order.
A real attack on my integrity.
Order.
So there you are. I have to tell you, Kay, Andy Hayman is a bit of a Twitter favourite at the moment. I think people quite enjoyed his rumbustious evidence.
Yeah. Just while we've got you, suggestions that the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition will all be meeting up tonight. Any guesses as to what they might be talking about?
I think we can all guess, and of course that is ahead of the debate tomorrow. This is an Opposition Day debate. Labour has now put out its own motion, which reads, "The House believes it is in the public interest for Rupert Murdoch and News Corporation to withdraw their bid for B-Sky B." Obviously, at the moment they're continuing it, but accepting it goes to the Competition Commission. I guess it will be really interesting to see whether there can be any sort of cross-party level of support for that. But also, critically, I think they'll be looking at this public inquiry, or indeed public inquiries, and seeing what sort of progress they can make on